Recently, I was visiting one of our parishioners who, earlier this week, got some really bad news. He's a healthy guy in his 60s, but he'd been having some strange symptoms. So he went to the doctor, who said, well, let's do some tests, which led to appointments with specialists, which led to oncology appointments. And just this week, they told him, the next step in your journey will be hospice. Ooh. So there I was with him and his wife in the hospital room, just trying to wrap our minds around that. And I asked him how it was going, and he said, I'm really busy. And I said, busy? He said, yeah, I've got a lot of people to call. He said, I want to make amends with people that I've had trouble with. He said, I had a business, a small business for a while. I've dealt with a lot of people, and I've got some, unfinished business with a few people. And he said, and I've watched other people die without dealing with their unfinished business. And he said, and I don't like the way it feels. It's not good. So his wife and I sat there and told him how much we admired him for that. Wow, that's really beautiful. We admire you. That's got to be hard. And he was very firm. He said, it is not hard. It's not hard at all. He said, I think that if my time were not limited, maybe it would feel hard. He said, but I am not going to miss this opportunity. Back in the 90s when I was in college, my grandmother got the unexpected news that she had advanced bone cancer. And she was the one who told me the story, that she wasn't understanding what the doctor was saying. And she kept saying, so what's the next treatment? And when can we schedule surgery? And what should I eat next? And the doctor finally said to her, I don't think you hear what I'm saying. And she paused and said, Doctor, are you telling me that I need to get my affairs in order? And the doctor said, Eloise, that's exactly what I'm trying to tell you. And it was at that moment she got it. Quite a phrase, isn't it? Get your affairs in order. What are your affairs that are not yet in order? What would be on your list of unfinished business? Affairs that are not yet in order. The story today is familiar to any of us who've had a loss, because Peter and 6 other apostles are fishing. And they're not fishing because they need fish. They're fishing because there's nothing else to do. What do you do after you lose someone you love? So often it feels like there's nothing to do. Emily Dickinson wrote about that in a poem about losing people you love, and she referred to it as the awful leisure. Can you relate to that phrase? The awful leisure that follows death, where there's nothing to do, but you're all pent up. You've got all of this grief and all of this love, and it's got nowhere to go. All of a sudden, you used to be running for ginger ale and fluffing pillows and giving bed baths, and now there's nothing to do. It's the awful leisure that follows death. And when you have unfinished business, that leisure is wide open for you to just loop back in your mind through all the unfinished business. And that's where we find Peter today. Peter is looping with his unfinished business with Jesus. And that's why they're fishing in the middle of the night, because they're not going to sleep anyway. Many of you were here when we celebrated Holy Thursday, and we commemorated that Last Supper, where Peter stood up and said, I have an announcement to make. I would die for this man, he said. And Jesus said, Peter, you're going to deny me 3 times this very night. Before the rooster crows tomorrow morning, you will have denied me 3 times. And Peter could not believe that would be true, but we all know that he walked right into it. Not many of us believe that Peter was being malicious when he did that. It wasn't an act of malice. He was scared. It was a moment of weakness. He was under threat, and he wasn't prepared. And he said the thing that he thought would save his neck. And now he's remembering that during the awful leisure. He can't stop thinking about it, I'm sure. I would imagine that every morning when he hears a rooster crowing, he's got PTSD from the memory of that moment. So now, here we are. Dawn has come, and you know what happens at dawn. The rooster crows. And there's a stranger on the beach saying, "Come have breakfast." What an amazing thing that is. Breakfast, the first meal of the day. The last time they saw him, they were eating the Last Supper. Never again would they eat together. But now, come have breakfast, the stranger says. And then they recognize that what this stranger is doing is taking what they have to offer, blessing it, breaking it, and giving it to all of them. What an unbelievable moment for Peter and for all of them. A number of families in our parish are going through something that you would think is very rare, but actually is rather common. A lot of our families are experiencing, on some level, some estrangement with a member of the family. And that might be a story in your family too. It's always hard. As a matter of fact, experts tell us avoid it at almost all costs. They say the cost of being estranged from someone you're related to or love, it's too great a burden to bear. The only time we should be estranged, the experts say, is if it's a matter of safety or avoiding abuse. But the cost is so high for us not to speak to a relative, someone we love. It's a very high cost we have to pay. And if you're going through that, you probably feel like the only person in the world. And I'm here to tell you it's not true. It's happening in our parish every day. But it might bring you some hope to know that I know a lot of people who have overcome it. They had no idea that they someday would, but now people who used to not speak are speaking together again. It's an amazing thing. But one of the things I notice is a trend in almost all of the cases. They never mention what it was that split them up in the first place. There is no talk about it. They do not go back and revisit it. They just let it go. It's water under the bridge. It's a sleeping dog that is lying. And so they just move forward. And sometimes I think we can understand that's the wisest thing you could do. Just move on. But Jesus doesn't want to just do that. He wants to go and make peace with Peter. He wants to address the unfinished business. He wants to get their affairs in order before he ascends to heaven. So that's why we have that very strange interaction between the two of them. Jesus gets Peter alone, which of course is always the best way to have a conversation like this, in private. And he says, "Do you love me?" 3 times he asks him that. Peter says the first time, "Of course I do." The second time, "Lord, yes, of course I do." The third time he says, "Please, why are you doing this? Don't ask me that. That hurts me. You know everything. You know that I love you." Why would Jesus ask him 3 times in a row? Well, their unfinished business was that Peter had denied him 3 times in a row. And so, just like any nurse who knows that we need to clean out this wound all the way so it can heal, he is irrigating the wound on 3 levels. He's asking all the way down to where the wound goes, all the way to where the infection has reached, and he cleans it out. And he doesn't stop short, but he also doesn't feel the need to revisit what was said. He doesn't confront Peter. He gives Peter a chance to deal with the unfinished business, to get his affairs in order. So that's the question we're left with this week. If we were sitting where my grandmother was, where that man this past week was sitting, and the doctor was saying to us, it's time to get your affairs in order, what would be on our to-do list? What would be ours to do? If we were that man making calls, who would be on our list? And the question is, could we maybe take a page out of Jesus' book in this story and not wait for other people to come to us, but to actually go to them, even if they were the ones that hurt us, and to say what Jesus says, it's okay. I know you love me. I know you love me more than you were afraid that night. We're good. It's okay. It's water under the bridge. We're moving forward stronger than before. I am told that parishioner I mentioned at the beginning of the homily is very busy right now because he's getting all the hospice equipment set up in his house. He and his wife are arranging for him to be able to spend however much time he has left in his home. And they're trying to get all that done while he's making all of those calls. But he said that he feels peace because he knows what his job is to do. To walk one day at a time toward his homegoing while spreading peace and love everywhere he goes. It's actually a privilege, isn't it, to be able to do that, to put our affairs in order, to be able to get our unfinished business dealt with. And that's why when I said, this must be so hard, he said, it is not hard. Maybe if I didn't have such limited time, maybe then it would be. But I am not going to waste this opportunity.